Hey y'all, BPRadiant here, back again with some experimental videos we're going to be trying out over the next weeks. We're going to film a couple for Midnight Hunt. With me, as always, I have a couple friends who also are very passionate about the game. First off, we have Smurfy. Smurfy, why don't you say a few words?
Hello, everybody. This is Smurfy with Three Cups Gaming. Happy to be here with BP Radiant discussing Innistrad Midnight Hunt.
And then we also have, of course, my buddy Chris with C One Shot. Why don't you say a few words about yourself?
Hey guys, Steve One Shot. Happy to be here. I'm just trying to see if I can understand these cards before everyone else kind of has to tell me what they do.
Well, today's video, we are going to be going over each legendary creature or commander option, so basically planeswalkers and creatures. We're going to be going through them one by one and talking about what we think their power level is going to be. Are they going to be good in the commander, the 99? Are they just hot garbage? Yeah, let's get started. All right, so we got Adeline Resplendent Cathar. What do you guys think about this card so far?
So, as a standalone white commander, I don't see it happening. But this is absolutely going in my either legendary tribal or human tribal deck. Hands down, excited to have a payoff for having all those creatures out there.
No, I totally agree. I think that this could have somewhere to maybe in standard brawl with a lot of the good white commanders they have rotating. And the fact that it doesn't even require Adeline herself to attack to get the human token, I think really adds a lot to like the power level for a human based deck. I kind of agree. I think it'll end up more in like a black white humans or green white human deck than its own commander. What
You
about
know
you,
what
Sue?
hurts it? You know what hurts it so bad? It's
Hmm.
that these two words that say for each opponent. That hurts me right now.
Yeah, it'd definitely be better in commander than brawl, that's for sure.
Or,
But
that legendary day when we get multiplayer on Arena.
fair. Hey, we'll get it, man. We'll get it one day.
Hey, each time we say it, it gets kicked back a couple weeks. So
Yeah.
we quiet.
So I think I'd put this as a solid maybe B in the right deck. It's nothing I'm gonna like be crazy happy about. What do you guys think?
B minus. It's fair.
I'm gonna follow with C1 shot on this one. It's a B minus for me.
All right, Arlen of Pax Hope and Arlen the Moon's Fury. Um, I like the idea of this for some kind of standard list in the 99, or some kind of weird Groll flash. But I'm gonna be honest, this card does not seem super great outside of lore. Um, Smurf, what do you think?
I tend to agree. I think super excited when I saw her spoiled the first time, and especially hearing Chris's words in my ears ringing out. I want Arlen to be good. I want wolves. It's like here we are, and then we got Tovalar, and we'll talk about him later. But despite that, I think she'll make a good 99 card in a lot of the Gruul decks, and we'll just have to see.
Chris, what do you think?
Again, you already vocalized my opinion. I want Wolves to be good. Make Wolves good again.
Hmm.
Uh, but it's fine. Like it's nothing to write home about. But I think it's a card.
So the only thing I'm thinking here, and like my brain thinking of the best case scenario is like we come down on day side. You can create 2 wolf tokens to protect Arlen, which is nice. You can then also um, potentially like a token strategy, since very specifically the plus ability does not specify anything about tokens, which is kind of neat. So I'm thinking maybe like Arlen isn't really in a wolf or werewolf deck if you run it as the commander, but I guess I'm gonna give it a B. What about you, Chris?
I had higher hopes for Arlen. I'm a big fan of her. I don't know anything about her lore, but she looks nice. B minus.
And Smurf?
I give it a little higher rating than a B minus. I'll go with a B plus, I think, but less excited to see her in the command zone than in the 99.
All right, Denic Pious Apprentice. I don't think this is a good card as a commander. I'm honestly having a hard time thinking about putting it even in the 99, to be honest. What do you guys think, Smurf?
Hmm. I'm having difficulty seeing it as a brawl staple, but I think it has a home somewhere in Tokens Matter, Investigate Matters, something. I don't know if Disturb has enough mechanic to it to see play in Standard Brawl or Historic Brawl, but who knows?
Chris?
Uh, if it like legitimately locked you out of the graveyard, this would have been so much better card. Um, the ability to investigate is kind of nice. It gives you some sort of like it gives you an a boon kind of thing. It's not for me.
All right, what are you gonna rate it?
Uh, yeah, C.
Smurf?
I think I'm actually going to give it slightly higher because I've thought of something. It's probably still C plus, maybe B minus, but I think it's good to hose reanimator decks, which, as you noted, are probably going to see a lot of improved play here soon. And maybe you put it in a control shell for the backside when you're countering opponent's cards and investigating off of those counters.
I think you're incredibly hopeful. I think this is a hard D minus for me, if not F tier. I think the fact that you have
Goodness.
to, I think the fact you have to get him into your yard to disturb him. I think the fact that some of our best reanimator spells, in the fact of things like Chainer, don't target, makes it pretty useless, and things can still be flashbacked. And then I think the fact that it only lets you investigate once per turn. I think this card is just awful. So I'm going for F tier.
Sorry, Denick, we're going to have to send that report card home to your mother.
Okay, so then we have Florian Voldaren Scion. So this card looks like it should be in somehow related to our black red legendary from the last set. Looks kind of like the customer that they had, but this card is super interesting. I think being a 3/3 for 3 first strike already feels pretty strong, and I like the fact that like if it gets through, you can then basically choose one of the top 3 cards to play next turn. That feels really good. What do you guys think, Chris?
I think getting the option of how much damage you've done that turn and getting to choose the best one in that situation, I think that's a really good option choosing thing. Like it gives you what you need at the time, kind of feel.
What about you, Smurf?
I've been blocked out, walled out of attacking or dealing damage so often and so quickly in some of these brawl games.
Mm-hmm.
I fear that this card is going to feel like it has such a high ceiling, but so often you're going to be unable to deal damage consistently, and his ability is going to whiff. That being said, like you mentioned, a 3/3 first strike for 3. That's
Mm-hmm.
not a bad creature. It's not a bad defender in and of itself. So the floor, I think, is at least moderately high. I think looking at that big paragraph of text, so often it won't come up that maybe it's good topping when you get it.
See, I'm over here thinking that I think he could be a really good aristocrat's commander if you don't want to go fully into the Extus Blood God commander archetype, since it's loss of life, not amount of damage done.
Yeah, I like that.
Um, Getting the pings from your different pingers, I think, could be incredibly strong. That said, I think he does fit in aristocrats fairly well, and they got a really good toy in him. Because even worst case scenario, you're pinging for 1 life, you get to play your next card. It's effectively card draw. So I think you're right that the floor for him is pretty good, but I think the ceiling is incredibly high in the color pair he is in. So I think I'm gonna have to put this as an A. I think I'm gonna see this card a lot, and I think it's gonna show up in a lot of decks as a way to help them find their win con. What do y'all think, Chris?
I'm gonna give it. I was gonna say A minus to B plus. You know,
You gotta
yeah,
pick one,
it's
man.
definitely what you what. Huh?
You gotta pick one. And in a
Hey,
range.
it's the same thing. Some people B plus is there, someone else is A minus.
Mm-mm.
I think that you described it well. The different pinging outlets, all the different sources of damage. The fact that it says life lost. I think that gives it a good enough spot for A- to B+.
All right, what about you, Smurf?
I think I'll rate it higher than I was initially thinking, since you have pointed out that it's not only combat damage that you can get through with this card. Probably B+ then.
All right, following him up, we have Gisa, Glorious Resurrector. I am so hype on this card. I think that Graveyard interaction in Brawl is like at an all-time low, and I think there's so many good Graveyard interaction type decks that it's super worth including her just as like a pseudo Leyline of the Void that can get you value. What do I all?
My thought is you need to have a plan for her. She's, even as a 4/4, as a creature, she's too fragile to be a consistent graveyard hate card. But if you're emphasizing it with something that makes her, or that leans on her getting your opponent's stuff, a fair Turgid, for example, or Aristocrats deck in black, I think she's got a high ceiling.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I see her with like a lot of good removal. You can play a lot of good die removal with that. Obviously, you have to keep her alive, but I guess that's fair. What about you, Chris?
A big fan of going, hey, I like that creature. Can I play with it for a little bit? So hey, I like it. It's fun for even just the memes for a little bit for me.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking of playing against this with like an ETB deck like Emil or Chainer, and like my stuff dying, and then not having a way to get rid of Gisa, basically the turn it dies, and them getting a Crater Hoof from me or something like that.
Oh God.
Yeah.
We talked about Chris's dreams. Now we've seen Brett's nightmares.
Which is funny enough, those are my dreams. So
Oh, good. I'm gonna give this a solid A-, honestly, in my opinion. I think this is gonna see a lot of play.
Yeah, I was gonna give it like a B+, A-, somewhere around that area. So I think I'm agreeing with you here.
I'll take the naysayer position. I think it's B-. We'll see a lot of play with it early, but when people realize how fragile it is, I think they'll pivot to something else.
All right, we got Jadar, Ghoul Caller of Nephalia. You know what? It's a 1/1 for 2 that gives you a 2/2 attacker. It's a card. It's not a exciting effect.
It is certainly cardboarded. You are right about that.
I think y'all are being a little too low on this card. He is very narrow. I will give you that. But in a sacrifice style deck, which is all you're really going to be using these zombies for most of the time, that is consistent value of a zombie creature that you're getting at the end of every turn, if you have an outlet for it.
No, I totally agree, and I think the Aristocrat style decks. I actually have this on my notes as being Exodus Fuel.
Exodus Fuel.
Because you play a 1-drop, and then you play this turn 2. You have the backside of Exodus, the Blood Demon, on like turn 3, and I think that's incredibly strong. I just think he's not an exciting card, but I think you're right. I think he makes Aristocrat style decks incredibly powerful.
He's got a home and he has uses. Oh man, I'm just thinking of all the shocks.
Yes, removal is going to hate on him really fast.
Yeah, but I mean, if he doesn't die the turn he comes out, he's effectively 3 power and toughness for 2 mana, which I think is a really good rate.
That is true. I do have to think about it that way.
I don't know. I think he'll be better in. I'm super afraid of going against this card in limited, but I think since he finds a home in a couple of Aristocrat style decks, I could see him being kind of B+ for me.
I'd say
I'm definitely in C- territory for me.
Narrow as a reed, stands tall. I'm going to go with a B.
All right, moving on to our transforming cards. We have Jaren, Corrupted Bishop, who transforms into Ormondal the Corruptor.
Ormondal.
I feel like this card is good. I don't know if it's good as the commander, but I think that like if you haven't another Aristocrats list that has a lot of humans, which I think there's a lot, honestly, in the respect that it is a human. I think that like getting the extra 1/1s can be really strong. And I don't think you're ever gonna see like the flip side of this in most games, but this card still feels pretty good. What do you think, Chris?
I'm a big fan of both aristocrats and these flip cards. It gives me, I'm a big fan of transformations kind of things, and this gives me that vibe. I like it. I don't know if I'm ever gonna flip this thing. It's kind of expensive, but I'm a big fan of it.
Okay, what do you think, Smurf?
Slotting right into my 5-color human deck. This does a lot of what you want. It has its own ability to manipulate your life total with its second ability. It's going to fill up your board. I tend to agree. I'm not excited about Ormondal. Maybe if it had a haste tacked onto it. Or actually, no, because when it transforms, it doesn't have summoning sickness anymore.
Because it's also end step.
Good point. So, I don't think you're ever going to see Ormondal. But that's fine, because Jaren is good.
Fair enough. What are you gonna rate him?
I'm going to stick him with a solid B+.
And Chris?
I give it a B. I say B plus. Yeah, B plus sounds good.
I guess I'm gonna rate this a little higher. I'm gonna go for the A-. I think that there's gonna be some scary things that are gonna happen, and like if a deck can flip to Ormondal, I'm just imagining this being a standard version of Yawgmoth. And Yawgmoth is card draw is very good. No card should ever have protection from werewolves, but I guess we're dealing with Catilda, Dawnheart Prime now. Human tribal. I don't know how many good humans there are. Like I've got to actually go and take a look. But this deck is either going to be a house or awful. If depending on like the quality of the humans, I think. What do you guys think?
I'm gonna let Murphy speak on this one because I think he has a lot to say.
This is simply my favorite legendary card from this set. The decks I've played in the past, I've tried to make I'm a changeling at heart. Every creature is every type, and when all of your creatures are mana rocks, that you can just, the sky's the limit. And this card does that. The protection from werewolves is almost never going to be relevant, so we're not going to talk about that. But the mana sink for putting power on each of your creatures, the mana cost in and of itself, I'm so excited for Catilda in these tribal decks. Usually it's part of the 99 in more colors because BPRadiant is right. Green-white is going to be a good human tribe, but not a great human tribe in standard or historic Brawl. But add 1 or 2 colors onto that, and chef's kiss. I'm so excited.
I'm kind of seeing the potential for like Abzan humans, maybe. I don't know who you'd use as the commander right now. I mean, I guess you'd kind of be stuck with probably the Apex or Kethis, but I think the Apex might be better. I don't know. One of those two. What do you think, Chris?
This is out of my wheelhouse. Obviously, I can tell how it could be used. Human creatures, mana. That has to be a great effect. We're not going to talk about the first hands. Don't worry about it. It has to be a solid card. James, I'm not playing with you if this card comes up.
So I'm reading over it now, and I think the floor is still really high. I think that worst case scenario, it's a 2-mana dork in the command zone or 99 that then can make other things dorks. And I think that like when I think about cards that do that, there's the old one from, I want to say it was like from the second Theros block where it made like all your stuff into mana dorks, and I feel like that card was pretty strong. So I think you're right. Maybe being a creature makes it weaker, but like having a potential mana sink you can do, like having a mini, like basically having Shalai's a power on it seems pretty cool. So I guess I'm gonna go B+. What do you think, James?
Y'all can make fun of me later. This is my A+ card. Well, you can tell me I was wrong 3 sets from now, but for right now, I'm going to leave this at the 100% mark.
How about you, Chris?
It's I can see its use and I can see it going to be very useful. I'll give it a B. It has a home. It's not for everything, but it's a good card.
All right. Lear, Disciple of the Drowned. Um, I don't know how to feel about this card. Like on the one hand, I'm like, oh my god, giving things flashback is busted. But I can't think of anything in mono blue that I really care about giving flashback that's not counter spells.
Uh, it has three words that I care about more often than anything else: instants and sorceries. That's what I look up when I do a lot of my decks, and I love it. I don't know about for a mono blue deck, but I'm in it. I'm here for it.
Let's qualify, Chris. What deck are you excited for this for?
Uh, is it Timmer? Anything with blue and red in it, and a splash of something else to make it feel better.
Okay, well, I guess I could see this in like Kaikar Storm, getting a chance to stuff like flashback stuff from your graveyard, but we're waiting for your Mizzixes or something.
Yeah.
Um, or maybe even like I'm just imagining the nut of getting to recast a oh man, what is it called? The ultimatum, the Temur ultimatum.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the dream. I sit at night thinking about those kinds of happy memories.
So what do you think you guys are gonna place him as?
In his
I
own
think
commander,
No,
probably
just in general.
in general. I gotta be reasonable. I got maybe a B plus, maybe.
What do you think, Smurf?
I think, and I'm thinking of this as a another human, another card that goes into other creature decks too, because spells can't be countered. I give it a B plus as well. I think it's good card protection.
I don't know. Maybe I'm under evaluating it. I'm gonna go with a C plus. Honestly, I think that um, since he can't be used in the commander, he has like two different things he wants. He wants to be into the control mirror matchup where the spells can't be countered, but then he wants you to be a deck that's like a spells matter deck. And I think that he's just like very narrow. I think he's gonna be a standard powerhouse. That's for sure, though. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's C plus for me.
All right.
All right, Liesa, Forgotten Archangel. Finally, we get the fifth angel. I don't know if you guys knew this, but originally, with the original set, we got the other color pairs. But there was originally supposed to be an angel for each color pair in mono white. In addition to like Avacyn, we had like the other four. Liesa was in a story, but then we didn't get to see her till commander product, and I have strong feelings about that. But I will put them aside for a moment to say this card slaps. Um, especially in standard brawl. Black White Angels never really had a good commander, and I think we got so many good Black White Angel cards for at least Standard Brawl in Kaldheim that the Angel commander in that set just was not very good. And I think this is so good. And also, I'm just saying, is gonna fit that graveyard threat that I was talking about. That I think is so strong. Graveyard synergies with creatures are getting better and better, just like they are in Commander in Brawl. And having a way to stop that is really good, and also a way to bring your own stuff back to your hand and recur it. This card is so cool. Chris, what do you think?
Is there anything else left to talk about? You outlined it. Yeah, I'm scared of it. Angels always give me fright. Um, yeah, it's gonna be useful. I don't know its story. You'll have to tell me that later. Uh, yeah, it disrupts graveyards. It heals you. It's evasive. It's good.
What do you think, Smurf?
Yeah, I think this is what you were looking for earlier out of Gisa. This is the graveyard hate card, and I can think of three cards that are going to make this terrifying to play against. It's the Eidolon that gives protection, Selfless Savior, and the is it Dauntless Vanguard. Just stick those three, land any of them next to Liesa, and this is going to be as scary as Feather with God's Willing in hand.
No, I totally agree. I also like the idea of it being 4 power, synergizing with the new two new cards that make angels. The 6 drop that whenever you gain 4 more life in a turn, you ends up create an angel. It'll also trigger, I believe, um, the 3 drop angel that'll make more angels, and it will also trigger our Book of Exalted Deeds.
Oh God.
I'm very excited for this card. I'm gonna give this an A.
I'll give it A minus.
I'm also going to give it an A.
All right, Ludovic Necrogenius. That could also turn into Olag Ludovic's Hubris, which I think is Ludovic, which is a little disappointing. Does anybody have anything you want to say about Ludovic?
Cool art.
I think Ludovic is essentially just a worse Lazov, to be completely honest. You have to exile the effect, so like after you've transformed it once, and the thing doesn't have hexproof, unlike Lazov. And I think that yeah, I mean it'll be something to play for jank in standard, but I think this card is not great. I'm looking forward to being proved wrong, but I think it's too expensive for what it does. The body's too small. The fact that it turns into whatever it is, but it's only a 4/4 is really tough. I don't know. I'm not very high on this card at all. Smurf?
Designed for Commander is my thought. I think what you have available on Arena does not take advantage of this effect. You don't have enough time with your life total in Brawl to get to something that you want to do with this. If there was a Blighted Agent equivalent or Commander Damage Rule equivalent for Brawl, I might be more excited about him. As it stands, I can't think of a target card I would want to pull out of a blue-black graveyard and put on a bigger body that makes him worth playing.
Chris?
I think this is a hot trash in my opinion. I don't see it anywhere.
Yeah, I think and to James's point on to Smurf's point on the card, I think that it just does everything that Mimeoplasm does, but worse, and doesn't have green added into the color. So I'm gonna go with a solid F tier. Chris? All right, good talk. Smurf?
Ruh-roh. I'm also going to go F tier for Arena specifically.
Okay. All right, Rem Corolus. Rem Carl Stalwart Slayer. This card is super cool, but I feel like he's just Tajik light to me. What do you think, Chris?
Tajik light. The first thing I want to talk about is why do hippogriffs look hideous in this area? That's something that's just been on the front of my mind. Yeah, Tajik light's a probably good call. It's aggressive, flying haste, it saves your creatures kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I would do with it, but it's something. It can do something.
What do you think, Smurf?
For me, burn has never been my cup of tea. This feels like actually, I'd say rather than being Tajik, I think of this as more as the Minotaur twins.
Fire Song and Sunspeaker?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the style of deck that I could imagine with Rem Corolus, and I don't see it. I don't play it, so I don't know how to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it works kind of like with him, I guess, a little bit in standard, or I could even almost see it being like a very aggressive shell that has burn to try to close out games with him potentially. In standard brawl, I think it's totally doable in standard brawl. In my opinion, like you can play him fairly aggro with some of the really good red and white creature based strategy with some like burn to the face to top it off. But I totally agree. I think that in historic brawl, I just don't see him having a place. Maybe in knights to stop sweepers.
It's really just interesting that it's a burn, like it helps out your burn strategy, but it also defends against counter burn like against the burn against your face strategy as well.
Oh, in my head, it's if you're playing him in red white, you can start running all the red board wipes that do damage, so that they only affect him. But I still don't know. The fact he can't even, if he had 4 toughness and survived the Deafening Clarion, I would be all for this card. But having 3 toughness just means he gets wiped to almost all of them. I'm gonna give this a C. What about you, Chris?
C plus, maybe.
Okay, and Smurf.
Another D on my end.
All right, so we got Sereth the Viper's Fang. This card is interesting. What do you guys think, Smurf?
I am high as a kite on this card. This card is immediately getting slotted into any human tribal, any my legendary tribal with Essica, or the Finn poison counter deck. I think the protection is great. The death touch means you're going to get great attacks every time. I love it. I'm high on this card.
What about you, Chris?
This gives me one feeling and one feeling only. Block, I dare you kind of vibes. I enjoy that about it. And then if I'm not attacking these creatures, they're protected. They have good protection on it. I only dislike that it says other on both of its little sentences.
I mean, I feel like it's got to give some kind of counterplay.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that there's gonna be a lot of green decks that I'm gonna be if I'm playing like a green white token strategy. I'm gonna be putting in a copy of like Shared Summons and then Sereth and Finn, for like a game closer, because oh my god. And also, I think that we're kind of forgetting the untap another target creature is pretty cool to give things hexproof for protection, but also land you control.
Or land, yeah.
And so I don't know about you guys. I play with Itlimoc Sun's Cradle a lot, and that's going to be some ridiculous mana, and I think some like green white or green black go wide strategies.
Mhm.
I think this card is nuts. I think that the only reason I would not play this as a commander in standard or historic brawl is that we have things like Toski that exists. I think are just like slightly better in like actual card advantage. But oh my god, this card is so cool. I love the art too. Like the whole witch
it's
theme
beautiful.
has been really nice. What are you guys gonna rate it?
High B plus, maybe even A.
I'll give an A minus.
Oh, I'm going for that flat A. I think this card is gonna see so much play. I think you're right. I think just having this in a deck, like putting this in green white humans and having that death touch or hexproof, like this and Shalai. I'm just imagining having both those on the board at the same time.
Ooh, I like
And
that idea.
I like that. I'm a big fan. All right, so we got Sigarda, Champion of Light. I'm already a huge fan. 4 mana, 4/4 for 4, with flying, trample, and an anthem effect tacked on. Not even including the fact that you can like then get a human from your top 5. This card in standard brawl is going to be nuts. In historic brawl, if again depending on the rate of humans, I think is also going to be nuts. This is the human commander I think I would personally play over our other one though. What do you think, Smurf?
Feeling a little called out by that comment. Yes, I agree. This is a fantastic card for human tribal. It's printed on the text, obviously. What makes me excited about it is I want to put this in a deck with Maskwood Nexus, which I want to do that for all my decks. But that being said, even if you don't have that artifact on the field and you have mostly humans, I think this is a great finisher. I agree with you, BPRadiant, that this is going to be seen all across standard brawl. I'm excited to see it in historic brawl and see what people can brew.
What do you think about C1 shot?
Oh man, angels and humans are just getting so scary for me. Makes me sad. I'm scared.
Okay, what are you gonna rate it then?
Oh man, I B plus.
I think I'm gonna give this one an A. I'm very high on this card, especially for how the impact it's gonna have in standard brawl. I think we're gonna see it until it rotates, because like we're gonna get a lot of humans in these colors. Like we're always gonna get more humans that are in the color white. What do you think, Smurf?
I think it's an A as well.
All right, we got Slowgurk the Overslime. 1, a blue and a green, trample 3/3. I think this card is hot garbage because I think that it really needs black to be good as anywhere near the commander. I don't know. Smurf, you had some ideas on this card. What were you gonna say?
I am not an encyclopedia of knowledge of older formats, Commander in particular, but I've heard this card a lot of hype for it in Land Matters decks. And while I agree, it's even in Arena, as Commander, I don't think it has all the pieces it needs. In the 99 of more colors, I still don't know that it has all the pieces it needs. But if you find a Sultai deck, maybe the Muldrotha, and find yourself with this card, maybe.
I'm sitting here. Well, Chris, what do you think?
I'm trying. I'm not the best at these kinds of things either. I'll be real with y'all guys. The land guard going to the graveyard from anywhere. If you have your self mill strategy kind of thing, and it gives you bonus for that kind of thing, gives you the land. I don't know what to do with it, but I like the idea of putting it together with other oozes. Simple man, simple Chris.
The deck I'm seeing it being potentially the quote unquote best in from what I'm imagining would be Muldrotha or Jadzi, where you're self milling yourself enough to get things out. You get this on there, you get it the 3 counters fairly quickly, and then you return it to your hand to bring back all the lands, and then you use something like Jadzi or Ren and 7 to put all those lands into play. Because I think if you don't have a way to put all those lands into play, you're just going to discard them again for the most part. Like if you're putting more than like 1 or 2 or 3 lands in. And I don't think we have. Maybe it's better when you have access to fetches, and we only really have like 2 fetches, and they're pretty weak. But I don't know. I'm giving this one a solid C tier. What do you think, Chris?
I think that's really drastic. C, that's crazy. C plus.
Smurf, what do you think?
I'm going to be the harsh grader here. If this was in paper in an older format, maybe it gets up to B. It's a D for me right now. I don't see it.
Oh
Okay.
man.
Now we're up to Teferi, who slows the sunset. I'll talk about this card last. What do you think, Smurf?
I'm not excited for this card in particular in Standard Brawl. I have a pet deck that's a Bant Super Friends with the old Oath of Teferi that lets you do things twice, which could make him much more interesting to me. I like his ult. I don't think you're ever going to reach it fairly, but maybe if you have a Vorinclex out, you immediately get to do it. That's an uninteractable, not quite Prophet of Kruthix, but Seedborn Muse. I like him. I'm not high on him for Standard Brawl. Looking forward to playing with him in Historic Brawl.
What about you, Chris?
Well, I'm always stuck on the first word, which is Teferi. Teferi gives me shivers in the night, no matter who he is. This one isn't the scariest thing to go up against. Sure, with his tick up, you can get some okay mana advantage. The ult, which if it ever goes off, could be very scary. That is it's a pretty scary ult.
So I think there's a chance I might be overhyping this card to myself. So I'm imagining in both Standard or Historic Brawl what I'm gonna call like the nightmare scenario. They get out
the
of
darkest timeline, if you will.
Yeah, they get an Arcane Signet or the 2-mana rock. They cast Teferi on turn 3. They untap a land and the rock, and they've got a counterspell open. Turn 3. They're on the play, and they can just control you out from there because they'll be able to cast something potentially and untap 2 mana, similar to 5-drop Teferi, while gaining life and like stopping things and getting closer to ult. I do think the down tick is not something you see very often in Brawl because it's just anticipate, but like potentially that's really good to help him. Like, you've got him down. He knows he's not going to ult anytime soon. He can try a down tick looking for a board wipe. Like, I see the control aspects of him, and I think that he's not as like overly scary as say 5-drop Teferi or even 3-drop Teferi, but he feels like a really good card to be able to consistently get out early. And I think that he might be the new control commander for Standard Brawl. Personally, because I think the ability to like, if you do ever get to ult him in say like a Bant Super Friends list, or if you can control the board to ult him, you're drawing twice as many cards as your opponent, and you're getting to cast stuff on your turn, and then also have mana up during your opponent's turn to counter, is so gross.
If I ever see that ult pop off, I'm hitting the quit immediately.
So I guess I'll give my overhyped thing, and I think this is an A-. All things considered. What about you, Smurf?
I look forward to you proving me wrong once and only once. In the meantime, I will give it a B plus.
And you, Chris?
I I think I can see the nightmare scenario, and I think he could be fairly good. I give it the A minus.
We are going to be dealing with Tovalar, Dire Overlord, and his transformed self, Tovalar, the Midnight Scourge. Basically with the guy the set was named after. I'm very excited about this. Chris, what are your thoughts?
Green can't keep being able to do this. It can't be this scary and good. I'm frustrated with how good this card is.
Okay. Smurf, what about you?
I actually am going to go on the opposite side and think for Brawl or Standard Brawl, actually, brief qualification. For Standard Brawl, probably fine. Probably very good. Might sit a little bit behind Toski. For Historic Brawl, I don't think he has enough toys. I do not think there are enough wolves and werewolves to make him hyper competitive. So I think he is going to be a standard all-star and a historic brawl washout.
I'm gonna make everything I can do to make this deck possible and good. This card is hot garbage in every format. I think, honestly, the fact that he's so linear that only Wolf and Werewolf cards doing damage can draw you a card is nice. I like the fact that he can help transform your wolves and werewolves, even if you only have 1 or 2 werewolves, is really great. And the fact that he's got a Kessig Wolf run on the back to give trample is so cool. But personally, I agree with Smurf. There's not enough werewolves or wolves to actually make them useful, so you're gonna have to rely on the shapeshifters, which are understated for what you're gonna want to do in the deck. Or you're gonna have to rely on trying to get stuff like Birthing Bows or Maskwood Nexus to like turn other stuff into it. And I think that if you want to draw cards and go wide, just play Toski. Like, there's nothing drawing me to really playing him outside of the fact that being a werewolf is badass, and I'm gonna make it work somehow. But yeah, I'm gonna have to say that total meme tier, and I'm gonna do my best, but I'm still gonna give him like a C plus.
I didn't
Chris?
realize it was just wolves. I didn't realize it was just wolves or werewolves. I thought it was just when you deal damage. Still kind of scary though. I'll knock it back a bit. I'm gonna say B.
All right, Smurf.
I think he's C minus.
Okay. Next up, we got Badric Astral Archmage. I am so hype on this card. I think this might be. This is immediately going in my Kaikar Storm deck, in a Temur Storm deck when I eventually build it. I think this card is absolutely nuts. It might be one of the best Spells Matter commanders we've gotten, and I think honestly could even be its own commander. I am very scared of this card. What do you think, Smurf?
I have seen comparisons to it, the old Commander product, Mizzix, the one with experience counters.
Mm-hmm.
Since Mizzix doesn't exist on Arena, I think this is going to be his closest stepbrother. And to that end, I'm not looking forward to playing against this card. Decks that care about counters and instants scare me. Those are my nightmares. And this is going to enable a lot of them.
What do you think, Chris?
Finally, something I can talk about. You guys have been able to gush about other things. I don't know how Night and Day works that well. I'm gonna have to try and figure out how to work that out myself. But I'm a big fan of cost reduction cards for instants and sorceries. I'm here for this card. I hope that this card is as good as I think it is, and from what y'all are saying, I hopefully have a good idea. I'm in on Vadric.
I think the best part is that you don't even have to really worry about day and night if you don't want to, because essentially you can just buff his power using other instants and sorceries, enchantments, artifacts, equipment. Like, I don't know. I think the fact that it's just tied to his power and not the number of counters him is pretty great. And worst case scenario, he's a 3-drop that still already like is a Goblin Electromancer.
Yeah.
At worst. And that feels
y'all
really good.
know how I feel about Goblin Electromancer.
So, Chris, what are you gonna rate him?
I gotta give it something, right? I'm thinking this is my A plus. A plus. I think this is where I'm putting it.
Okay. I think I'm gonna slap on an A minus to it. I think that there's still a little bit of hoops you have to go around. And I think that Galazeth is still maybe slightly better just as a whole for his like a main commander. And the fact I think that might be better in the 99 Is why I'm doing that. What do you think, Smurf?
I am reluctantly going to give this an A minus as well. It's not something I'm going to play, but it's something I'm terrified to see people play against me.
Moving on, that brings us to Ren and 7. Chris, what are you thinking about this card?
He's no Ridden 6. I'm gonna say that. But he's not. They're pretty good. I kind of enjoy the +1. You know, it's what's that called? Explore, kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
And then you know, I flood out a lot. I don't know about y'all guys. So the 0, it makes me feel better.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think that he's really strong for a lot of the graveyard shenanigans we've seen. So I think there's like a lot of like strong potential with him and like maybe some flashback cards and like a Jund to build. Some of the lands matters decks like Gitrog or Tatsiova are gonna want to slot him in immediately. Um, Maybe even as a redundancy plan for Jadzi, since he can put any number of lands on the battlefield tapped, is pretty great.
Right.
The fact he can protect himself is really neat as well if he wants to play his own style as a commander. And I think there's a few green cards that have ways to put things in your graveyard that this could be, relevant with the new green slime that gets larger based on the number of types in your graveyard. Like having that synergy means I think this could be a decent commander option if we get any more graveyard matter stuffs. I think the ult is pretty meh, but that's just because I think it takes taking 4 turns to reach an ult. I think is just really tough. What about you, Smurf?
I think, yeah, the ult's likely not going to be relevant most of the time. I could see if you already had a Vorinclex out and put him down, maybe that resets. You've been losing most of your threats throughout the game, but most of the time I think it's going to be irrelevant. I tend to agree that this is not something I'm excited to put in the command zone. There are a couple of deck archetypes where I could see it being fun in the 99, but I'm not particularly high on Ren and 7.
What would you rate it then?
I'd put them probably B minus.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a flat B. I think that they have enough archetypes that I think will make them work, and I think they're really strong in those archetypes. But yeah, what about you, Chris?
I agree with the B minus. I think that's it. It gives it. They have uses.
Mm-hmm. Well, there you guys go. We have talked about all the legendary creatures you can use as a commander or planeswalkers. I hope you guys enjoy them as much as we do. Unfortunately, there's not too much as far as power level goes in the set, but you know what? I think after Eldraine, we all need a break. Do you guys have any closing thoughts you want to add on, Chris?
Go face.
Fair enough. Smurf, what about you?
I'm very much looking forward to the new tribes that are coming in, whether they're good or not. Doesn't really matter to me all that much. I like, as a one shot put it, a simple man with simple tastes, and looking forward to being pro-human.
Yeah, I think I think that even though nothing here is gonna be like a staple as far as like what is gonna be as a commander, I think that a lot of them are gonna fit really well in the 99 and will support or expand on existing tribes. So I'm excited for that too. I think this is gonna be a nice little shake up, especially for standard brawl. I'm really excited to see what it's gonna look like after rotation. But that is us for today, guys. Thanks for watching. As always, hope you enjoy. Please leave a like, a comment, subscribe with what commanders you guys might be excited to try out or what you're going to try to build. And as always, be radiant.